Good. Almost. No? There it is. Good morning. Welcome to Space News Day 12. My name's Mike. I read the news so you don't have to. Let's get into an Ars Technica space article. We have been blessed with 5 new articles. Four if you discount the Daily Telescope. All of the, well, 2 of these from Eric Berger, one from Stephen Clark, and a new writer, Theo. I'm not even going to pretend I can pronounce that, from Knowable Magazine. Maybe that's one of those user subscribers. User subscribers, my goodness. The user submissions that I believe the Daily Telescope articles solicit. Nope. Well, we're on the article. Might as well look at the photo. Wow, it looks like a brain. All right, which one do we want to go with? For the first time, NASA has asked industry about private missions to Mars. Starlab, with half the volume of the ISS, will fit inside Starship's payload bay. Rocket report, SpaceX at the service of a rival. Endeavour goes vertical. Why interstellar objects like Umama and Borisov may hold clues to exoplanets. Let's go with Starlab. This seems the most technical. Building and integrating in space is very expensive. This is an artist concept of the Starlab space station. We have an arm here, probably not too dissimilar to Canadarm, one of the proudest technological feats from my country. It's not a rocket, but the arm's pretty cool. Let me give you a look-see at that. Now you can see here the wonderful Canada logo. It's a series of robotic arms that were used on the space shuttle to deploy, maneuver, and capture payloads. It was developed by MDA, probably our largest space company at the moment. After the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster, the Canadarm was always paired with the Orbiter Boom Sensor System, or OBSS, which was used to inspect the exterior of the shuttle for damage to the thermal protection system. Anything else? Anything about the technology within controls and software? So the algorithms were developed by SPAR and a subcontractor, Dynacon of Toronto. Montreal, some CAE in Montreal provided the display and control panel and hand controllers located in the shuttle aft flight deck. There were several amplifiers, power conditioners built by SPAR at its Montreal factory. General Dynamics, bunch of companies. Here's the design. So the basic configuration consists of a manipulator arm, a Canadarm display, and a control panel, including rotational and translational hand controllers at the orbiter aft flight deck crew station. So here's a photo of an astronaut anchored on the end of Canadarm, preparing to be elevated to the top of the Hubble Space Telescope. This is wild. Look at that. I understand why some people have conspiracy theories and think that this stuff is fake. This doesn't look real. This is unbelievable. And it's just, what a gorgeous telescope. Absolutely incredible. I like how they went with a kind of the circular solar panels. The circular solar panel design makes a lot of sense. You can't sun point and receive 100%, but you're always receiving some energy from the sun as long as you're not in eclipse. There's another. Oh, I didn't even look at that. Find the astronauts. There was one here, and then it's like boom. Number 2. That looks surreal. Can we figure out what they're doing? I like all of I assume these are used to maneuver for the astronauts to maneuver on the outside of the spacecraft. Just a glove kind of hanging out. And the arm, which looks to be maybe 3 times the height of a human, say 18 feet, and then this looks like to be the height of a human. So it's not small by any means. The deployment mechanism is probably some sort of telescopic design with this folds during launch. Hey, cats. Cats. All right, Starlab. So SpaceX is not fitting in a big fairing. Just sorry, I'm gonna go murder my cat. Hey, come here. Come here. You met her yesterday. This is Eclipse. Hello. She's being annoying and flapping around with a bunch of paper. Okay, can you stop? Thank you. Thank you. Damn it. I'm back. We looked at multiple launches to get Starlab into orbit and eventually gravitated towards single launch options. It saves a lot of cost of development and integration, and we can build it all and check it out on the ground and test it with the other systems. One thing that they learned was that from the ISS is that building and integrating in space is expensive. Okay. So Starlab is one of several privately developed space stations vying to become a commercial replacement for the ISS. Among contenders, Axiom, Blue Origin, and Vast Space, SpaceX may also configure a human-rated version of Starship as a temporary space station. NASA has provided seed funding. Very cool. Each company is developing a space station that will serve both government customers as well as private. So NASA still wants to launch a few astronauts here and there. The challenge for Starlab and other commercial stations is developing a customer base beyond NASA to support the expense of flying and operating stations. The challenge is huge. NASA spent more than $1 billion constructing the ISS and has a $3 billion annual budget for operations. Woo! And transportation, well, there you go, and transportation of people and supplies to the station. It will fund commercial space stations at about $1 billion a year. So these companies must build their facilities relatively quickly at low cost and find a diverse base of customers to offset expenses. Starlab may have an advantage in this regard with its co-ownership by Airbus. One of the big questions surrounding the ISS is what happens to the European astronauts who fly there now. The ESA will likely be reticent about funding missions to private space stations owned and operated by US companies. The involvement by Airbus therefore makes Starlab attractive to European nations as a destination. Okay, not too technical, more financial. Let's see if we can find something else. So private Mars missions, you know that Elon was all over this already. This week, the space agency's JPL issued a new solicitation exploring Mars Together Commercial Services Studies. Deploying small satellites into orbit or providing images services. So instead of Earth observation, we're talking about Mars observation, MO. To realize the goals of this plan, government and industry would partner to leverage current and emerging Earth and lunar products. Here's the reference mission. NASA will pay proposers $200,000 for a study of one of the reference missions, or $3K for a maximum of 2 studies. Smaller payload delivery and hosting. So payload. So there are 4 reference missions: smaller payload delivery and hosting, larger payload delivery and hosting. So smaller is 20 kilo, larger is 120 kilo. Electro-optical imaging services. So landing site selection, hazard assessments, change detection, monitoring and planning. Next generation relay services, so provide communication relay between Mars and Earth for surface and orbital assets. In recent years, NASA has been evolving from owning all of the rockets to more of a service-based model. Prime example of this is the Commercial Crew Program. NASA does not own SpaceX's Crew Dragon vehicle, rather it provided some of the funding needed to get its astronauts up into space. Meanwhile, SpaceX owns and operates Crew Dragon and can fly private missions, such as it did with Inspiration 4. What was Inspiration 4? So it was a human spaceflight operated on behalf of Shift 4 Payment CEO, this guy. The mission launched... So was it just travel? Space tourism? So it was the first orbital spaceflight with only private citizens aboard and was part of a charitable effort. Okay. So they intended to raise up to upwards of $100 million to expand childhood cancer research. Okay, this is interesting. So essentially, a person with a lot of money says, I want to go to space, but I'll tie that to cancer research. Okay, I'm glad that more money's going towards cancer research. That's awesome. Having it tied to something like space travel or whatever it may be is, I mean, it's their money. They made it honestly, somewhat, I assume. Right? The space agency has extended this approach to the moon with the Commercial Lunar Payload Services program, in which it buys lunar landings as a service from companies like Astrobotic, Intuitive Machines, and Firefly. Okay, so Firefly is not only doing launch vehicles, it's also doing lunar landing vehicles. I mean, it makes sense. You're going to have you might not have the capacity for it. You could always hire for that, but you will have the expertise if you're launching vehicles to also be able to build landing vehicles. Landing vehicles will be some combination of engines, fuel tanks, things that you've already specialized in. The legs are really, if you do have legs, the latest Japanese mission, I don't think it was as much legs as it was crushable material that they would first land on one corner. So they'd slow themselves down and then they'd first land on one corner, have the material crush itself to slow the descent, and then so that's on this corner here, and then the vehicle would eventually sit parallel on the moon's surface. That was the idea anyways. Apparently it turned over, unfortunately. Okay, anything else? Anything about technology? So payloads as small as 20 kg opens the door to a large number of providers. Imaging services might be attractive to companies already doing this in low Earth orbit, like Planet. Planet, I believe, has up more than 200 satellites. Planet satellite count in orbit. 450 satellites. Yeah. So, however, it's clear in the solicitation that NASA is seeking a broad array of potential contributors. Any American companies that want this should throw their hat in a ring. I'm curious to see if this request brings many new players to the table, or if the unique challenges on Mars combined with low commercial value will only attract the known players in the Red Planet. This was by Tanya Harrison, a Mars scientist who co-founded the Earth and Planetary Institute. Cool, of Canada. Canada. Sorry. This approach has the potential for NASA to test the waters. It does seem notable that NASA at this time is not seeking a commercial lander for Mars. This may be a little too ambitious and would likely limit the potential number of bidders to just a handful, such as SpaceX and Lockheed Martin. Very cool. Glad I know about this now. And thank you, Eric Berger, as always, for a great article. I'm going to leave you there. I hope you have a wonderful day and weekend, and we will catch up on Monday. Bye-bye.